again. This is your happy gardener from Phoenix, Arizona. Today it was only 108 degrees. Tomorrow it's going to be a warming 112 degrees. We thank God that we have air conditioning in our home, our cars, our stores, everywhere we go. I'm outside now and it's probably about 105, but the sun is going down, so that helps a lot. So in my last video, I showed you all my petunias that were in bloom in this flower bed. The heat really got to them, actually the sun, and we pulled them out. And so for the summer, I think we're going to have nothing. Maybe put some bark in, and that will be permanent, and we won't have flowers there anymore. Now, for summer flowers in Phoenix, Arizona, these are a good choice. These are called vincas, or another common name are periwinkles. Years ago, they used to come just in one color, and that was a color like this, and that's probably where they got their name, periwinkle, although it's not periwinkle blue. Now they've been hybridized, I guess you could say, to have other colors, which is nice because we're not stuck with the one color like we used to be. So over here I have more vincas or periwinkles, but these are a trailing variety that's fairly new, so given a little time they're going to trail out of the hanging pot and give us some color for Phoenix, Arizona, which is unusual at this time of year. Our petunias in the pot still doing well. The gardener, Mr. Ron, gives them a lot of super bloom, so they bloom profusely all the time, and for some reason the heat didn't get to these like they did the ones in the front of the house. It could be at the front of the house, the heat emanating from the almost white stucco fried the petunias, the sidewalk, the concrete got hot. So that's probably what happened to them. Okay, over here we still have our geraniums. There's lots of new buds on them, but I don't think they're gonna open up and bloom now that it's getting to be so hot, but at least they're still alive. Okay, coming over here, last time I talked to you about my hibiscus that Ron wanted to pull out. Well, look at it. It's flourishing. Still, no matter what time of the year that the hibiscus blooms, at least the red lipstick variety, the blooms only last one day. So if you want to have them in an arrangement in your home, put them in a vase, you better pick them first thing in the morning. And I've even noticed yesterday morning when they opened up, they were already tinged with brown or burnt, breaks right off. But anyway, it's doing well. Here's more geraniums. They're blooming. I have to deadhead every so often. Here's our stolen plant, and I explained to you in an earlier video why we call it the stolen plant, but in case you don't know, and this is the first video that you've seen, we took this stand from the front of a neighbor's house. He had it out there for the taking, so one night I went over there and got it, put the plant on it, so we just call it the stolen plant. Okay, last video, my bougainvillea wasn't blooming, and as I explained, they're not flowers, they're called bracts, B-R-A-C-T-S. Everybody probably calls them flowers, but they are not flowers. But anyway, this is the most common color in Arizona, Phoenix. It does come in a few different shades, but I happen to like this one the best. it has grown quite a bit since my last video. And over here I've got another hanging pot with trailing vincas. They look a little bit better than the last one I showed you in another pot. My fountain grass that the landscaper had chopped down to the almost to the base has sprung up in the last 6 weeks maybe, and it's doing well. What used to be there was lattice, and the reason I wanted to pull it out, I'm not going to tell you why I took the lattice out. It was there when we bought the house, but I didn't want the wood lattice there, so that's why the fountain grass is there. Over here, and we'll get a closer look, is a chime I bought many years ago at a craft show in Tempe, Arizona, and we'll get back to that in just a minute. Here are my little miniature cacti, still doing well. The redness has disappeared that was there in the winter time, I think from just the coldness and the freezing temperature. This one doesn't look so good. That was my shapeshifter cactus, and I explained in an earlier video why I called it a shapeshifter, because every day the tendrils would be in a different direction. But it doesn't look so healthy, but I keep it anyway. Don't have to water it much or at all. Okay, now I showed you the barrel cactus last time. I don't know how much bigger it's going to get, but I want to show you this cactus, and we have a few. I don't know the name or the genus of this cacti. I have maybe 3 of them, but at Home Depot last week in their garden department, there was one just like this. It was about this tall, and it was $549. I couldn't believe it. When Ron came out of the store and I was in the garden department, I said, hey, come on over, you've got to see this. $550 for a cactus that tall. So I've got a few of them, so I'm practically a millionaire. So let's go over here to my chime, and I'll explain a little bit about the chime. When I bought it, it was new steel, and it rusts with age, which gives it a wonderful patina appearance. And each of the triangles, each section of the triangle has a different tone, and that's how it was made. It was made for that. And the clapper in here, I don't know what material that is, but I'm gonna ring it for you, and it's got a deep tone. It's not a shrill sound like other, what do you call the other little things that hang down? Anyway. It's got a beautiful tone, and when there's enough wind, it sounds like that. When there's a lot of wind, Ron comes out and he anchors the clapper so it doesn't bother the neighbors, but I think the neighbors like the sound just as well as we do. So anyway, we're not in a condo or an apartment, so I don't think that's a problem with our neighbors. Okay, let's look down here. For a gift from one of Ron's children, Ron thinks he's a cowboy. He likes to think he's a cowboy, okay? So they bought him this metal sculpture, and we got it pretty cheap, and when we got home, we figured out why. Part of his arm, probably another gun, was missing, but it was too late. The craft fair was over. It was 100 miles away, so that's in our garden. And now again at the Crown of Thorns plant. The summer's pretty hard on it, And I explained last time why it's called a crown of thorns, because down here the stems are thorny branches. But as I explained last time, it flowers year round. There is never a moment that there isn't a flower on that plant. And I have another one over here I didn't show you the last time. It's got red flowers. And I've noticed that when I cut them and put them in vases in the house, they are a good cut flower for a floral arrangement. They last a long time. My asparagus fern does well. It flowered. It's got little seeds, balls on it now. And then here's the killer cactus. I think that was put in there to stop intruders from coming into the yard, but anyway, we had to plant or hang this fern here to sort of be a blockade to protect people from these 5-inch long spines. Okay, we're gonna go out front again. This is my rosemary. I've got one here, and I've got another one on the other side of the garage. And if you brush against it, oh, it exudes the most strongly fragrant rosemary smell. I could describe it better. I'm not an English professor. Okay, last time we just had a hole in the ground. We had taken out a lantana, and I came up with this idea. It's called a red yucca, and the first year we have to water it every couple weeks, but after that we won't have to water it at all unless we want to. It has gotten these pods on the stem, the stalks, the floral stalks. I had to pull all the pods off because all of these floral stalks were touching the ground. So I pulled these off and they sprung right up. But I see here's another pod. I've got a few of them dehydrating in the garage, and they will dehydrate very quickly in that garage because the temperature in the garage is probably about 110 degrees right now. Okay, coming back over here, I showed this to you last time. The slipper plant. It has all these little flowers on it that kind of look like little birds or bird beaks, and hummingbirds actually go to this. It's kind of like a hummingbird attracting plant. I thought that was an insect for a minute, but it's not. So anyway, it propagates from the bottom, and like I said in an earlier video, that when they get so tall and can't support their weight, they curl, and it's attractive that way too. Okay, my fountain grass that was chopped down to about that tall 6 weeks or so ago has sprouted back. I was afraid it wouldn't look right, but it does. It looks fine. Now this cactus, I am not sure the name of this, but I'm thinking if that little cactus was $550, how much some of my taller cactuses would be worth, even that barrel cactus. Okay, a couple other things now are my geraniums out front, weathering today the 108 degree heat. Still look not bad. And this one, not bad. The red one, not bad. The pink one, not bad. We're going to give them another few days. Tomorrow with 111 or 112 degrees, that might do them in. And then we have another shrub over here. I always forget what it's called, but the sun doesn't seem to affect it, or the heat in the sun, but it can freeze in the winter. Gets these little blue flowers on. I break them off. They close up at night, and I put them in little flower arrangements in small vases in the house. And the flowers close up at night, and in the morning they open up. So, and they make a fairly decent flower for an arrangement. Doesn't die overnight. I try to pick them when they look fresh. Let me see, one more thing over here that's oh, we'd have to get really close with the camera. I don't think it's a beaver tail cactus, but it could be. Ron hates beaver tails. Yep, looks like a beaver tail to me. It's about, well, there's no beaver tails out front. We used to have beaver tails probably 15 feet long, and Ron had them taken out, and they don't have long spines on them. That's where they were, where the camera is now. They don't have long spines, but what they do have are spines, if you want to call them that. I don't think they're even spines, but if you get near them or brush up close to them, or if it's windy, on a windy day, it disseminates the prickly little spiny things, and they're almost invisible. And Ron always comes in and has to wash his arms down because he can feel them, but he can't see what's on his arms. So we still have that big oasis in the back, call it the Cactus Island. We'll get one more shot of that. Ron's going to have it trimmed down, but we don't even go out there. So what I say is let it grow, but he wants to make it smaller. So I guess that's all for today. We'll look at the progress of our summer plants a little later on. And thanks for watching The Happy Gardener, and have a cool summer. Goodbye. One addition that we made to this house as we moved in and bought the house, there was no patio whatsoever. And for a few years I would just put a chase lounge out in the gravel that you see, and it just looks so pathetic. Just a zero gravity chase lounge out in the gravel if I wanted to sit out. But I had block layers come, and what's popular here in Arizona are these pavers, and they did a really good job. And so it added a new dimension to our living, which we had done without for so long. We've taken in some of the furniture and some of the pillows. That Arizona sun is kind of hard on everything, fades everything out. But anyway, we're able to sit out here, but even the evenings right now are a little too hot. So we still have our luminaries up. They still light up at night, and then they come on again in the morning. So that gives a little enhancement to the backyard that is so plain. One thing I want to say about this house and yard, all of the gravel and the river rock is gray, the walls gray, and when one of my daughters came over, my granddaughters came over to see our house for the first time, she walked in and she said, "This is the ugliest yard I've ever seen." And that has stuck with me. So I've done my best to try to upgrade it a little and add some color and not focus on the grayness. We could paint the wall, but when the neighbor's sprinklers hit the wall on the other side, it gets wet, as you can see, stains. And so if we painted or stuccoed the wall, it would be an ongoing maintenance problem. So anyway, I said I wouldn't show the island, the cactus island out here, but I will show it. To me it looks fine. Ron wants to have it cut back, but we never go out there. In fact, we've been here 7 years, and about 2 years ago I walked out there and I saw this really cute little quartz figurine. I didn't even know it was out there, and I moved it to the cactus garden on the side of our sidewalk. I'll give you a little look at that, but just to give you an example how little we even go out there to do anything. I never even go in the backyard. So I'll give you a little shot of the little figurine, I'll call it, and then we'll call it quits for today. So like I said, it kind of looks like a mountain goat, and it is fused to a rock I thought was quartz, I'm not sure, but yes, it's true. It was out on the Cactus Island probably for 5 years, and I didn't even know it because I never even walked out there. So anyway, the Happy Gardener signing off. Hope you enjoyed this video. Goodbye.